You set a couple of public hearings, renewed some liquor licenses, and different projects had pay applications. So you officially paid some for the East Iowa paving project, square reconstruction, purchase of a police vehicle. There was the council hosted a public hearing for some tobacco sales violations that has been resolved, and so that was one of the items too. And then just additional readings of ordinances that were passed at previous meetings.
Thank you. Sure, John.
On the East Iowa, do we have any idea for maybe AP or somebody, what kind of time frame are they looking at opening that up?
Is this looking close to being
Yeah,
done?
it looks pretty close to being done. So I saw the trail was extended through and
Looks nice.
connections were made and stuff. So
Sure. So they have finished the mainline paving. They're working towards the trail and completing the sidewalk, street lighting. The goal is to open up before the balloon festival, which is end of this month. And then the work will not be completed. And the completion date, I think, requires end of September. And so even though the road will be opened up, they will still be working the right of way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Moving on then to council reports. Next item is treasurer's report. Doug Scholl's here.
Boy, you move right along there.
We do.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, the report that's in front of you is for the 11th month of the 2021 year. It goes fast. And I kind of took a look at this report compared to April, which would be the previous month, and most of the fund balances either went up a little bit or down a little bit, but overall up a little bit. And the local option sales tax still comes in at a pace of about 150,000 a month. And other than that, we have some almost 40 million to account for, and the interest rates are very, very similar to what they were at the end of April 2021, and of course down from a year ago. That would be my report, subject to.
Questions for Mr. Scholl?
Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
And on to receive and file the EMS billing activity report for May 2021.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Perfect. Thank you. On to Councilmember Kling, who's going to give us an art commission report.
The Indianola Fine Arts Commission, they are really bringing that back. They are going to be proposing some changes in the board itself, a 7-member board rather than a 9-member board, which I think is excellent. And they wish to change their name to the Indianola Public Arts Commission, which is much more appropriate. Some of the things they're working on right now, their first big project is a piano for the square. And I was just in McGregor over the weekend for the 4th, and they have a couple up there, and it's really nice. They're all painted up, and that's kind of the plan. They've got the piano. Someone is tuning it. It will be painted. They'll be talking to the businesses because they need somebody to sponsor it. They will need a cover and a few things like that, and rules and certain things that they're going to work out. They're working on putting together stuff for their website. They want to have a ribbon cutting. Let's see, they're working, and as we've talked about some of the previous meetings, they are still working with the North River Arts Council, working towards a comprehensive plan for Norwalk, Carlisle, and Indianola. And one of the things that they are working on, they started actually the first night, putting together a form so we can get a list of arts and crafts people, local arts and crafts people, because we don't know who everybody is. And it's nice to have that list when there's events going on, or if you're gonna host an event that may involve those. And you don't have to be an artist or a craftsperson, even if you have that interest that you want to get involved. So the next few days here, or a few weeks, they should be getting a lot of stuff off the ground.
That's great. Kudos to them. That's one of our newest commissions. Very exciting. Love that. I had a piano outside my office,
Oh,
public
really?
piano, and loved it. I
Yeah.
mean, wonderful pianists just walk by and start playing, and
Yeah.
it's like, this is fantastic. So.
It's like going to Yonkers, the old Yonkers.
Yes, it made you feel good.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Yes,
if I might,
sure,
have an unscheduled council member report.
sure.
With all of the fireworks activity recently, I would like to run it by the council to see if maybe we couldn't put revisiting the use of fireworks in the city on a study session a few months down the road.
I
I
support
don't
that
have an
idea.
issue. Yeah, I don't have an issue
Yeah.
discussing it, yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I've heard from several folks myself over the weekend, so I'm sure you have as well. So I think that's great. Staff, if we can get that on, it'd be wonderful.
General timeframe.
Just
Yeah, November.
Okay.
This fall.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
early winter.
Okay.
Be a
We'll
good
take,
discussion in the winter.
we'll take a look at what,
on the agenda.
what other items are coming forward and we'll get it working.
Perfect. Thank you.
because
Thanks, thank
day
you.
before and day after would be great. So.
Next item is the mayor's report. Just a couple things wanted to share. I was out and about this weekend on our square, talked to several business owners, and I want to just say they are being fabulous partners in this progress, both understood. They're both on the south side of the square, so that is torn up in front of their businesses. They got it, they understood it, they were being very supportive. They said they've been getting great feedback from the city on when big things were happening. So they said, yep, not loving, but loving and understand the long-term effects. So I just really want to say kudos to them for being such great ambassadors, and also just to call out to you, council, and also our residents, please, please, please visit our square businesses during this time of construction. They need the love, but all of our businesses in Indianola need the love. So please keep your dollars here in Indianola and support our businesses. Also want to do a little shout out to our 3 partners, as July is kickoff month for 3 very big activities: Des Moines Metro Opera, Warren County Fair, and the National Balloon Classic. Yes, folks, our town will be busy, roads will be busy, but nothing is better than all of those people coming to town to celebrate these rich cultural attractions we have. So please support them. Please help those that are lost find their way to the right place. But we wish them all the best in their seasons. So let's hope for good weather. And it'll be fun to participate in all of those. The July study session, I mentioned this a little bit before, but we will be talking about the new Human Relations Commission. We will be bringing a draft ordinance of what that would look like. Councilwoman Greta Southall and I have been working with that group to establish that group. So we'll be spending some time in July to talk through that. And then just another reminder, of course, we're always looking for great people to serve on our boards and commissions. It's on our website. So please, if you haven't taken a look, please take a look. There's lots of different ways to be involved, and we highly recommend it. And then last, we have some partners here. We have John Pauley and Clint Meyer that wanted to share some information about some work that they are looking to partner with us. So I will call them forward to share what they're up to.
Okay. Thank you for having us. My name is John Pauley, for some of you who don't know me. I'm a professor of philosophy at Simpson, and I've been at Simpson for 31 years.
And I'm Clint Meyer in biology and environmental science, and I've been there since 2008.
For various reasons, we have recently been focused on the idea of student research that can benefit the city and the students. An opportunity or opportunities to connect students more closely to the community and the community more closely to students and Simpson. We are also endeavoring to produce a research project that can continue to provide new opportunities. In other words, not something that is simply a dead end. And I had
Technical glitches.
That's all right. We had a bullet point about internships, but that will become more clear as we explain the research. You can just leave it there. So, did you want to do this one or do you want to?
Sure. So John and I have worked with students for on several projects, and a highlight of what we do is interdisciplinary work, but it's also letting the students really drive a lot of what we do. So instead of us telling the students, hey, research X, Y, and Z, they take an active role in finding out what are the research questions. They help design some of the methods and data collection and how to interpret that. So it's really a pretty rich experience for the students. And so we combine quantitative research as a biologist, and then I certainly enjoy that sort of data acquisition approach, but qualitative data in the form of interviews and getting at the research question from multiple angles is one of the things that we focus on. There we go.
So following a discussion actually that I had with Ryan earlier this spring, we proposed a project about the Indianola Water Resource Recovery Facility. The project has, the way we're seeing it, we have to direct students this way, but it has the potential to touch on, of course, water quality, water conservation, economic, financial, health, and social benefits to the city. And we'd approach, students would approach those questions from both a quantitative and a qualitative side, so that we'd have students from multiple disciplines of the college working on the project. And actually, I think we all have to understand that the students will have to be prepared, because some of them that we would get to help us don't really maybe know very much about water treatment plants, and they certainly don't know the specifics about this one. So they'll have to do background reading, and they'll have to do some research about water treatment plants in general. So our research would certainly include interviews with water quality experts, engineers who are working on this facility and others. I think Ryan mentioned some things about the DNR. We would interview people from the DNR, and then Indianola public officials, local residents, and stakeholders, which may include business owners, etc. We would like to be finished by next summer. I can't remember, Ryan, the date for what's the target date?
April 2022.
Okay, well, we would like to be able to be finished around that time and be able to present our results in a public forum, and then students would be able to present at regional and national conferences with us. And then we also, with some other research that we did recently, we actually just finished a 5-year project on herbicide resistance, and we did a thing where it was basically community outreach, and we went to 20 or more county conservation boards around the state of Iowa and presented our research on herbicide resistance and what that means for Iowa agriculture. We would want to do something similar with this research, so it doesn't just our research doesn't just get disseminated to citizens in Indianola and Warren County, but would be disseminated throughout the state. And I think, is that our last slide?
It is.
Yeah. We were trying to keep it brief. This has been, we took this idea to President Keller of Simpson and also the academic dean, and they were strongly in support of it and said, asked us to connect with the city of Indianola. And so I got in contact with Ryan. Thanks for your time. Any questions?
I think it's a great opportunity for the students and
Thank
wonderful
you.
for the residents. Yeah.
Thanks for thinking of us.
Yeah,
And maybe, who knows, we'll get a few that might go into the profession. Don't know. Could lead to that.
Well, the point I was trying to make about the internships was if you get some students who learn enough about a treatment facility like this one and who connect with some of the engineers and connect with some of the people who are working there, they could, right, they could develop an internship,
Absolutely.
possibility. So anyway, and the main emphasis really is to try to do more between Simpson College and the city of Indianola. That's the basic
Yeah.
goal here,
Great to
really.
We love it.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great to
That's
hear.
great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys.
Good luck. All right, moving on, we have a proclamation. It's Parks and Recreation Month. Hey, so whereas Parks and Recreation programs contribute to a high quality of life in a community, and whereas these programs also provide friends and families opportunities to spend time together, build strong bonds, and enrich their lives, and whereas parks have a positive impact on the environment while providing health benefits to the residents, and whereas the Indianola community has many dedicated professionals and volunteers who diligently work behind the scenes to provide a variety of experiences that enhance and preserve the quality of life in Indianola, and whereas these individuals have created a community with an assortment of parks, trails, recreation facilities, and activities which are modern, fun, safe, and attractive, highly valued by the community, enhance economic and neighborhood growth, and enhance the quality of life for our local citizens. Therefore, I, Mayor Pam Pepper, do hereby proclaim July 2021 as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Indianola, and encourage our residents to enjoy these essential spaces and participate in the programs that the city offers. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Indianola this 6th day of July 2021. We know during the pandemic, our parks got a lot of use. People were out and about, and we love that. So we want to encourage everyone, if you haven't been out lately, head out. And if you haven't participated in one of their programs, please do. They're high quality and really lots of fun as well. So cheers to our partners in the Parks and Recreation Department. All right, on to old business. We have some ordinance amendments, second considerations. First one is second consideration of an ordinance approving amendments to Chapter 165 zoning regulations and Chapter 166 site plan.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay. Ryan, do you want to give us a quick little
Yeah,
highlight?
Charlie's out of the office on vacation. This is just, this was a major recommendation coming out of the comp plan update that was done last year. So thank you to the residents that volunteered their time, planning and zoning, that spent a lot of time going through this. So after this, you'll have one more reading, and then we'll begin phase 2. So.
Yes, lots of good work has gone into this. Okay, questions? Jackie, please.
Councilmember Hewlin?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Kling?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Aye.
Southall? Aye. Merchant?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And then second consideration of an ordinance approving an amended official zoning map of Indianola, Iowa.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Ryan, just
This one of the regulations that changed was the zoning district. So this updated zoning map will take into account the new modifications as part of that comprehensive review.
questions? Jackie, please.
Councilmember Parker?
Aye.
Kling?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Aye.
Southall? Aye. Merchant?
Aye.
Hewlin?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. On to fiscal year 22 budget. Andy's in motion.
Motion to go into a public hearing.
Second.
Okay. Jackie, please.
Councilmember Hewlin?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Kling?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Aye.
Southall? Aye. Merchant?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. We're in a public hearing. Andy, if you want to just hit the highlights of this first.
Sure. There are items listed on the slide there, Mayor, and members of the council, for this budget amendment. Just like last year, we're moving some items that were not completed from last fiscal year into this fiscal year. That includes the purchase of the aerial fire department truck, finishing up the Iowa Avenue paving project, saw plant lift station, development assistance to Autumn Ridge development, and then also some service that needs to be done with the generator at the wastewater plant. The second thing is the community development department's been looking at some software, and they're finally ready to move forward on that. So they're getting some software to track their building permits. The software is going to cost $24,000. We're looking at the American Rescue Plan funding that's going to be coming. We're going to have a meeting this week on how to actually request that from the state. The first part of that, we were expecting 2.2 million, but the first half of that will be this fiscal year, so that's 1.1 million in the amendment. And then we also have the local option sales tax transfer for the streetscape project, 2.6 million. And I just want to point out a couple of things here. At the end of fiscal year 22, from 2016, since the city started collecting the local option sales tax, we've collected a total of $10,523,000. And in the DA Davidson pro forma that's been presented previously to council, we've put forward, the city is putting forward 7.8 million towards the water resource recovery facility by the end of FY22. That leads to 2.7 million in additional funding, and we're requesting in this amendment for 2.6 towards the streetscape project, which is a public works project, which was allowed underneath the referendum. And so when we're looking even further in FY23 and beyond, in the pro forma, DA Davidson has 1 million being transferred from the local option sales tax to the debt service to pay the general obligation bond for the water resource recovery facility. And we are anticipating continuing to collect 1.5 million, which we anticipate increasing as development occurs in the community. But right now it's 1.5 million, which we have had some demonstrated historical, record of having 1.5 million in each of the past fiscal years for the past 4 to 5 years. So, any questions?
And then when we first started that whole thing, we were told that we were looking at about 800,000 a year, correct?
Yes, we were looking at. I think we were looking about 1 million. I wasn't here when it started.
Right.
We were looking at about 1 million, but I know we were looking at a big hit when Warren County had adopted it. I was here for that, and we still were at 1.5 million.
You're right. It was 1 million was what we anticipated historically. 800,000 was what we had identified as the need at that particular point. And so that was before we had any sort of approval from DNR, that we were still going through a lot of the pre-application phase with the DNR on that facility.
Right, but I mean, I think the state, Greta maybe was here, Pam. I mean, I think we were told from the state of Iowa that we could pretty much look at 800,000 is what we were going to get, but we're almost doubling that now. So, and have been for multiple years. So,
Great point. That was correct. Good. Other questions for Andy? Okay. We are in a public hearing, so is there anybody here that would like to speak about this? If so, fill out a form, please come forward. Seeing none, hearing none. We have received some, and I need to read them because we are in a public hearing, so I will just go through them in the order they've come through. I'll share their names and their message. Jesse Beckford, 708 South K Street. I object to the use of lost funds being used for the streetscape project. Their collection and original intended use was authorized solely for the new wastewater treatment plant, not for an over-budget beautification project that could have and should have waited until after COVID-19 construction prices came down. Clarification, Doug, on what that originally was approved?
The when the ordinance was adopted, the resolution was adopted for the election for local option sales tax, a municipality and a county must designate what the funds are going to go for. And part of that reason is because they can go for certain infrastructure things, and it can also go for property tax relief. In the case of this local option sales tax, the actual referendum and what was voted on specified that 100% costs related to the construction and or rehabilitation of public safety facilities, public works, and street maintenance, and 0% property tax relief. So the only thing that had to do with what it was going to be used for was a statement by the then council and mayor after the election that they will use funds for the wastewater treatment facility. That is not binding on subsequent councils. As long as the council acts in accordance with that enabling legislation resolution within the guidelines of the law. And so, and by the way, I've looked, and I will go to see if I can get actually a definition of what public works are. You'd be amazed there doesn't seem to be one. But it talks about public works departments, but so it's up to interpretation, but typically that's going to be, if you look at Indianola's public works department, streets, sewers, sidewalks, infrastructure, lighting, things like that. So as long as you stay within that enabling legislation, then the council's fine.
Thank you for that clarification. On to a comment from Tim Bren, 908 North Buxton. He said, please use the tax money for what it was allocated. Kelly Shaw, 101 Phillip Place, said, please note my opposition to the reallocation of lost monies in the amount of 2.67 million from the wastewater treatment plant to the streetscape. These monies were previously pledged to relieve the financial impact of the new wastewater plant on ratepayers in the city of Indianola, and this reallocation will have a negative impact upon those ratepayers. The streetscape project should use resources not previously pledged to other purposes. Ryan, can you refresh everybody's memory on how wastewater treatment plant is funded?
Sure. The wastewater treatment plant is funded, it's an enterprise fund or a proprietary fund, so it's funded entirely by user rates. So it receives 0 property tax dollars towards that. With respect to user rates, we've had our financial advisor look at it, do the performa. We update the performa every year, ever since the local option sales tax was voted into existence. Andy mentioned it. Based on DA Davidson's evaluation of the collection of sale or the local option sales tax since its inception, it has far outpaced what was originally anticipated. So we are not taking any money away from our obligation for the wastewater treatment plant. So based on the analysis being done by DA Davidson and staff, there should be 0 impact on the ratepayers because this extra local option sales tax will be utilized towards the infrastructure project that's taking place on the square.
Okay, thank you. Next one comes from Scott Edgerton, 1909 West 5th Avenue. I've been a lifelong resident of Indianola, and I feel that as our elected officials, that our opinions should matter. My father was on the city council a long time ago and always felt his word was his bond, and he would never go back on his word because it was his promise. I feel that taking fund appropriated for the sewer treatment plant and moving any portion to the streetscape plan is against what was voted on and approved by the taxpayers of this great town. Thank you for your time. Next one's from Emily Fox, 1014 North 9th Street. As Indianola residents residing at 1014 North 9th Street, we would like to share with you that myself, husband, and eldest daughter are opposed to the city council taking $2.68 million from the local option sales tax previously designated to alleviate our sewer rates and build the new plant and moving it towards the streetscape. Other options could have been sought out, and areas that didn't need to happen right now could have been postponed or thought of if other ideas to save money. In a growing community, you cannot rob Peter to pay Paul, and that is what I feel you are doing. And it is lousy and shows lack of thoughts and ideas. Taking from the lost funds and dressing it up as your only option to not raise residents' taxes is baloney, and only further demonstrates there is no dialogue or discussion amongst our elected leaders. It is sad and disheartening when city leaders revert to this mentality and only further damages the community for future generations. Christina Beach, 409 West 5th Avenue. I would like to put it on record that I object to the use of lost funds to pay for the $2,667,910 in unneeded items on the streetscape project. We do not need $1 million worth of monuments and other nonsense items that the city manager and current council are trying to sneak into the budget. As I say sneak, because when the meeting was held to discuss these items, the fact that 1 million of the overture was due to 1 million in monuments, as can be seen on the video from that meeting. There are other ways these things can be accomplished, but that would require getting the community involved. And unfortunately, as of recently, the only time current council and mayor engaged with the community was for the mayor to try and publicly humiliate and chastise private citizens for standing up against the council and their private meetings out of the public eye. Maybe if we had more engagement from current council to speak with the community in an effort to raise funds for actual needed items on the streetscape budget, they would realize the community is willing to help with plants and labor and beautification projects. Excessive items like monuments are things that could wait until material costs go down. A couple of things there that I think probably need to be addressed. One, let's talk a little bit about monuments. They're referencing monuments?
So the monuments are, and we've used this in other communication pieces. The monuments are actually directional signage. There was during one of the previous work study sessions or one of the public meetings that we've had with the chamber and businesses, there are different directional signages coming in from off of 65, 69 as well as 92 to get into the square. So these monuments are more than just statues. These are actually directional signage to get people into the square. This is one of the recommendations that came from the state in 2018 as part of the community assessment that was done. In 2018, we partnered with the Chamber of the State and Warren County Economic Development to do this assessment of the square. It was a week-long process that involved the community survey, town hall meetings, interviews with residents, business owners, civic leaders. There was an open town hall meeting where people could walk to the upstairs of Brick House and share their ideas. It was that assessment that led to the leading recommendation coming out of there was to take a look at the square and do something with the streetscape. We've called it streetscape because that's what it was labeled as part of that assessment. But obviously, as we've communicated throughout and really hit on during the April meeting, about 80% of this project is directly tied to street level and below. So the monuments are not statues, they're identification and directional signage.
The next one's to Doug about this comment about try and publicly humiliate and chastise private citizens for standing up against the council in their private meetings out of public.
Yeah, that we've touched on in a previous meeting, but there were three complaints made to our public information board. One of those complaints was actually made to the mayor and I about 36 hours before those complaints were filed. The mayor directed me to investigate those complaints. And we were in the process of doing that when three filings were made with called IPIB. You file a complaint with IPIB, you do it under your name. It is, in this case, it was Kelly Shaw versus the city of Indianola, Stephanie Erickson versus the city of Indianola, Steve Armstrong versus the city of Indianola. That's how the cases are docketed. It's a public record, and the reason is because cities need to know who's challenging what they did. Those cases were then consolidated, city made a defense. I investigated personally the circumstances of the allegations, those complaints, and were basically very similar, but had a couple different nuances. I've talked to the people involved. We take open meetings very seriously, and you know, I was satisfied, in fact, not satisfied with, I can say with reasonable surety, there was no violation of law, and I would stand up for that conclusion anywhere. IPID reviewed the information, and based upon the fact that the complainants, whose burden it is to show that an illegality occurred, that actual council action or city policy was made in some kind of public get-together, it's their burden to show that. We showed there was no action. IPID, in response to that, dismissed those, combined those three complaints and dismissed them. So first, I take issue with the fact that there was no legal meeting, because again, we take that very seriously. Secondly, I don't think it's a public calling out when the whole process is you have to put your name forward. That's just a fact. And that's how it was presented on June 17th at the IPID meeting. And anybody who goes to the IPID website will see the complaints and the complainants who brought the actions to the city. So that's why the names were referenced, is because that's what the complaints were and that's what the proceedings were. So that's all I got.
Thank you for that clarification from both of you. Next one is Brad Ross, 812 North S Court. Please do not overreach the intent of the 1 cent local option sales tax. It was presented and voted on for a dedicated funding stream for the wastewater department, new facility, and nowhere prior have the funds been tapped for any other reason than wastewater. Christina Beach submitted her comment again. I've already read that, so I will move on. Shirley Clark, 403 North Y Street. Opposed budget transfer of lost. This tax is from sales tax designated for the wastewater plant. Holly Duncan, 1905 West 4th Avenue. I strongly oppose the reallocation of lost funds from the wastewater treatment plant to the streetscape plan in the amount of $2.67 million. As a new first-time homeowner who previously rented the last 4 years, I do not feel raising taxes on us to refund a project that was already agreed upon due to the poor budget choices and decisions of unnecessary changes by our current council members. We should not be responsible or punished for poor leadership. Again, just a reminder that there is
There's no impact on property taxes.
Thank you. Thank you. I just lost my train of thought. You knew what I was thinking. Christina Beach, again, submitted her exact same comments. Stephanie Erickson, 1102 East Kentucky Avenue. I wish to file my opposition to the allocation of lost monies from the wastewater recovery plant to the streetscape project. The project's loan bid was $2.7 million over the engineer's estimates. The infrastructure can be done without these dollars. The lost was approved by voters based on the assumption that these resources would be spent on the wastewater project. To allocate lost resources to the streetscape project damages the public trust placed in our elected officials. The council needs to spend within its means and find alternative resources to pay for the items on their streetscape wish list. Again, these are these dollars from lost can be used for public work projects. Denise Calvis, 1319 East Franklin Avenue. 2021 budget change from water treatment facility to streetscape. And then we have Lori Fredrickson, 708 North U. Really upset that money does wastewater treatment plant that was funded was stolen for the street beautification. Do not be raising our taxes to replenish that fund again. Again, taxes aren't impacted by this at all. Is there anybody else here wishing to speak to this while we're in our public hearing? And I did fail to ask if anybody had questions for Andy when he presented. You can ask those as well.
Great job, what you put together. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Questions?
How about a motion to go out of public hearing?
Second.
Jackie, please.
Oh, hang on a second.
Oh,
I got a comment.
Oh, sure.
Now that we're out of the public hearing, can I do that out of?
We haven't closed it yet. We haven't voted.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought we were voting on, all right, never mind.
Yeah, Councilman can make the comment after the public hearing.
Right, yeah, once we close the public
Yeah.
hearing. Sorry, I was jumping the gun a little bit. I was
That's okay.
focused.
You're
Sorry.
fine. No.
Sorry.
Jackie, please.
Councilmember Hewlin?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Kling?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Aye.
Southall? Aye. Marchant?
Aye.
Perfect. We're out of the public hearing. But now, John Parker.
Yeah, I want to answer since I was here, part of this. Very involved in the very beginning of with the wastewater treatment plant and how to assess ways of paying for it. And then also pretty involved in the 1 cent sales tax. And I take issue with being called out on my integrity. My word is my bond as well. And it's been that way pretty much the whole time I've been on council. And we set that up for a reason the way we did. Yes, we were hoping that we'd be able to pay for the debt service and be able to keep the rates down. We have an excess of that money, and we never ever saw that coming. Again, when we were getting numbers from the state of Iowa from the Department of Revenue, we were looking at $800,000, and we were hoping that was going to be good to cover those costs. Well, because of what we've done with our financial status in the city of Indianola, we were able to come in with really, really cheap loans. So we were able to finance it for less than what we thought. Those costs were down. We're receiving more money in the local option sales tax, more than enough to pay for the debt service. And my understanding is we cannot pay those bonds off any earlier than what they're termed out anyway. So it doesn't do us any good. Seems to not be a smart move as a leader and a thoughtful person to use those excess funds in a way that we are taking care of issues that we have with infrastructure that has not been taken care of or dealt with for years, and be able to do that without having to impact our residents by raising property tax. And we're able to use the money of, we've got, you just mentioned it, 3 huge events coming up where we're going to have people coming and visiting us. I've got another big event coming this fall that people are going to be stopping at C-stores and stuff. We are going to be able to use those funds to pay for things like this. And so I really take issue with some of these comments. And a couple of the former council members and other elected officials, there might be reasons why they're not here anymore. So, but anyway. So.
I agree, John.
I
Thank
do
you
agree
for
with you
saying
all.
that.
It's the best use of the funds that
Yes.
we weren't expecting, for
And
sure.
I think this has been asked and answered
Yes,
multiple times.
exactly.
With an appeal and backing from the state. I think it's clear that what we're doing is the good and right thing to do.
Correct.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you, John.
With the least impact.
Yes,
On our-
with the least
Yes.
impact.
That's a good emphasis point. Yeah. All right, well then we need a motion for a resolution approving an amendment to the fiscal year 22 budget.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Jackie, you figure out who did what.
I'd say Councilperson Parker.
Yeah,
I think so.
You think so?
Questions, comments? Jackie, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kling?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Aye.
Southall?
Aye.
Marchant?
Aye.
Hewlin?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Great job, staff.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Development agreement with Johansson Enterprises. We need to have a public hearing regarding the execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Indianola and Johansson Enterprises LLC.
Motion to go into public hearing?
Second.
Jackie, please.
Councilmember Hewlin?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Kling?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Aye.
Southall? Aye. Marchant?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are in a public hearing. Andy, are you going to give us the highlights, or Ryan? Ryan?
This is, Charlie, I believe, reviewed this last meeting. So the developer wishes to donate an outlot to the city park grounds. That was presented to Parks and Rec Commission. Park and Rec Commission agreed unanimously to recommend to the council this land be accepted for such use. To help, also as part of the development agreement, to help with the relocation of the existing sewer lines, developers requested funds in the amount of $110,000 to help with that. So the agreement states that this funding would be paid in 4 installments of $27,500 each. And there's stipulations there, it's upon connection issuance of C of O. So I think Charlie explained that the way the sanitary sewer line was put across the property doesn't allow for development of it. So that helps move it so it can be developed. One thing to note that the developer has requested, so the next item after the public hearing is the consideration of the development agreement. The developer has requested that the council table this until July 19th. So please know that, but we did have to keep the public hearing because it was published. This is the area in question. This is Fox Run Plat 2 here. And this was included in your packet. This is the tentative plat of how it would be laid out.
Okay, thank you for that. We are in a public hearing. Anybody here wishing to address this topic? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, hearing none.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Okay. Jackie, please.
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Southall. Aye. Marchant.
Aye.
Motion carried. Excellent.
How do we do that?
The next item is I need a motion to table a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Indianola and Johansson Enterprises LLC until July 19th.
Move to table.
Second.
Actually, it's a motion to continue until a date certain,
Until when?
a date certain, and then specify the date.
Okay,
Motion to continue until July 19th.
Second.
perfect. Questions, comments? Jackie, please.
Councilmember Southall.
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. On to new business. First item is consideration of a sewer credit request from the customer at 501 South Jefferson Way.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Before we vote, Rick's here. Let's have him here. Hear what he has to say.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rick Graves, wastewater superintendent. I received an excessive use claim for 501 South Jefferson Way. During my investigation, I met with the homeowner, which is present, if you have any questions for him, if he wants to add any more. And I also talked to the plumber about where the leaks were. It was underneath the crawl space in the front porch. And it's all dirt, so all the water soaked into the dirt, not into the sewer. So I'm recommending that the credit of $1,877.41 for 2 months of usage.
Questions for Rick? Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Questions for our homeowner? If so, we can ask him to come forward. Okay. Jackie, do you want to call the roll?
Councilmember Marchant.
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Southall.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now on to proposed ordinance amendments. First consideration of a proposed ordinance establishing the street grades for the East Iowa Avenue paving project.
And Council, our attorneys for the special assessments for this project on East Iowa paving has recommended us to adopt this ordinance to establish the grades for the new paving section that's being done right now. So this is also required as a part of our city code, chapter 138. So we are just bringing this ordinance in front of you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yep.
Questions on this? Okay. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay.
You're good.
Jackie, please.
Councilmember Marchant.
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is first consideration of an ordinance approving amendments to chapter 27 of the city code.
I so move.
That's the Art Commission. Second.
Second.
Okay. Questions, comments?
I do want to mention one thing, that I should have mentioned
Sure.
previously on the report, but I just received from Sally Dix from Bravo. Sometimes people ask questions, why would we have an organization that would work to spend money on art? You know, some people think that's a frill, that's an extra, everything else. Well, you also need to look at it the other side. For every $1, and in fact, there was a story in the Register about this, why Des Moines has really done so well, and it's been a model for other cities across the United States. For every $1 of public funds invested in nonprofit arts and culture in the whole greater Des Moines area, the organizations are generating more than $50 in regional economic impact. So it does really regenerate money. So it's not just to look pretty, there's the financial aspect too. And those are the amenities that make cities memorable and that bring people to the city. So
And the
I wanted to
vibrancy.
mention that, yeah.
Isn't there another part here though too, that we're missing out on grants?
Yes.
And other public funds that we could get by having a specific art commission.
Yes.
Because when we had a commission that had an extra name attached to it, it kind of threw us out of being able to get grants.
And during the pandemic, the public arts grants went away temporarily, and they will be, from Bravo anyway, and they will be coming back, so.
Great points. Any other comments? Jackie, please.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Motion carries. And then on to resolution approving an engagement letter with Allers and Cooney, PC, regarding amendment number 1 to the amended and restated 1998 citywide urban revitalization plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, so this amendment is needed to recognize the change in state law that removes multifamily residential property tax assessment classification. So the urban revitalization plan is the one that gives the abatements for residential, commercial, multifamily. So with this change in law, multifamily is going to be classified and taxed at a same rate that single family is. We shared this previously, and I'll share it again now. This has a negative financial impact to the city, this House File 418. This means that the multifamily properties that we have in the community that were 75% of the value was taxed. Bringing it down to single family, it's going to be 55%. So that's going to equate to about $190,000 in lost revenue because of the action that was done by the state legislature.
Thank you for that clarification. Other comments, questions? Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. On to other business. First item, city manager's report, Ryan Waller.
Thank you, Mayor. Discussion and direction on an event and noise permit application fees. Within the last couple of weeks, we had one of our partners, DMMO, had an event. They got us a noise permit application. And then we had another local business that just moved to the square that was having an event, submitted a noise permit application. Those weren't within the timeframes prescribed by the policy. And then the policy says, it directs back to the application. The application says that there's got to be a late fee to process. You know, as we were talking about it at a staff perspective, it's not very friendly and accommodating. So what we were wondering is if the council would be amenable to having staff put together some revisions to this policy to make it more streamlined. A lot of times our partners or businesses will come up with an idea and it's just not going to fit within the 60 days or within 10 days. And it's our opinion as staff that it's not very friendly to do that. So
I would agree.
That's my opinion too.
Yeah, we're not the city of no. That's why I think it's important.
So appreciate that. We'll bring back some proposed language just to make that a little bit more streamlined and more accommodating for the businesses and partners. The next item, as we normally do as part of our budget process, we just started our fiscal year, but we're already starting preparations for the next fiscal year. So our finance director, Andy, has provided you with the FY23 budget calendar. That's in your packet. So we just need to receive and file that. If there's any questions, we'll have him answer it.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, Andy?
This is just a different way of looking at the budget calendar. We have Microsoft Visio now, so it has a little bit of a more of a visual look to it. Most of the council's actions are in bold type there, and they line up with the council meeting schedule, except for the last one, which is March 14th for the adoption. That's the second Monday. So just be aware of that. Those are just target dates. They may shift as we get further into the process, but that's the calendar that we have set up as for now.
Looks good.
Yeah. As a side comment, you're exactly right. We just started this year, but it's really very, very nice that we are so proactively thinking forward, planning, and are dealing with this. So thank you very much for your
Like painting the Golden Gate Bridge.
attention to detail. We appreciate it.
And I would be remiss if I didn't point out how much better this
Yeah.
process is from where it was
Yes.
10 years
More time.
ago when Greg and I first walked in here and it was a mess. So
Agreed.
thank you. You guys have done a phenomenal job. And I think, pretty much anybody in the community can be able to follow along. And while city municipal budgets and school budget, they're so complicated. And I think sometimes they make them more complicated than they need to be. And so what you've done is trying to simplify it and make it easy for people to be able to read it and see what's going on and how we're spending the money. So thank you.
And I appreciate that it's shared early and often. So thank you
Yes.
for that as well.
Yes. Great.
And I would appreciate if we kicked off with fireworks and maybe an machine.
We don't have a budget for that. Sorry. Thank you.
I mean, it's a kickoff.
It's a kick.
Put that knife in it. Greta.
Maybe in November.
Other comments regarding 23's budget calendar?
Looks good.
All those in favor of receiving this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And then we need to receive and file correspondence from June 18 and 25, 2021, weekly updates from City Manager Ryan Waller.
I so move.
Second.
Questions, comments on those? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ryan, did you have anything else that you wanted to say? We kind of just moved along here.
No, hope everybody had a great Fourth. We're gonna be going into closed session. Council has not asked for any action afterwards and it's not on the agenda, so, those that will be leaving, we're not gonna be.
We will adjourn afterwards. So then so thank you. I was gonna say that, but you've got it. So we just need then a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session and for code section 21.51C to discuss the stuff that's written on the
To
sheet.
discuss strategy. You're right, I didn't do it. Discuss strategy with legal counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent and where its disclosure would likely to prejudice or disadvantage the government.
That was my motion.
Gwen seconded it. Jackie, please.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll go into closed session in just one moment.